Okay, so Mila, you and Ashton announced this big initiative where you wanted to raise $30 million. You partnered with two organizations. What was your hope and where are you with it?
Gosh, okay, for the sake of time, I'm gonna try to give you like the elevator version. The okay, so for no reason other than breaking down the numbers of the cost of how much it costs to fly a 747 worth of supplies back and forth, and at that point, assuming we would house maybe 100,000, 200,000 refugees, we broke it down to 30 million between flexport.org and airbnb.org. Flexport does the transport, Airbnb does the housing. It's just the technical. Like I myself can wrap my head around technical problems. I appreciate and love people that donate to foundations that do, supplies, whether it's blankets or hygiene supplies or kids supplies or diapers. And I think that those are incredibly important. But then the logistics of, okay, so then those are sitting on a barge somewhere. How do you get that supply somewhere? And that's a problem that I felt like I could solve. That's where Flexport came in, and with same during COVID with Flexport. And then Airbnb was just, to me, very local and makes complete sense already. The infrastructure's been there. It has been there. It was easy and simple. And all we wanted to do was offset the cost of actually housing people, food, energy, all the money that goes into just living expenses. That's what we can offset. So that was the impetus for that. But the why of it all, I go back to COVID, and you feel so hopeless as a person, whether you have $5 or $5,000, it doesn't matter. If you want to help, you just want to know how you can help. And the idea of helping, it goes back to, like, I was reading an article years ago about people feeling so good about themselves when they just press like. Like the idea of pressing like on Instagram or Facebook gave people hope because they felt like reposting or pressing like was like, look, I helped a purpose. I did something. And so I was like, I can do that through these fundraisers for people where they feel like if they give $5, I promise you that $5 doesn't go into my pocket. And I vetted every company and I know every NGO, and I spend hours and hours and hours making sure that this is the right place to take the money to. And as long as people feel safe giving the money to the foundation, then they instinctually feel better about the world, the circumstance of the world, and they feel invested in the outcome of the problem. And that, to me, in the grand scheme of things, is so much more important than anything, is giving and allowing the community to feel like they're a part of a solution, not just a part of the problem.
You come up with this idea. Look, at we're going to try to help uh, in Ukraine right now. $30 million feels really big, and
Yeah.
then the numbers keep swelling every day, every hour,
Yeah.
and you're like, my God, maybe this is just a drop in the bucket, but it's an important drop in the bucket, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think that again, it's a sense of community that's the important drop in the bucket. The money is the secondary issue. As much as we really want the money and need the money, the betterment of it is allowing people again to be a part of something and hope for the right outcome and not just get distracted by the next thing next week. And I wholeheartedly believe that if you give $1 to something, you want to see where that dollar goes and what the outcome is. Thus, you will follow through and stay on top of this problem, versus, having the squirrel like, ooh, there's something else over there. But
So how do we keep people focused? I mean, the eyes of the world, the hearts of the world are really focused on this story right now. It's
yeah,
changing in real time. And this is such a personal story to you.
yeah,
And
yeah.
talk about that a little bit, about this is where you come from.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I was born in Chernihiv, Ukraine. I came to the States in 1991 with my family, and we were the last of my family to migrate. So my whole family, I mean, a little bit of us left before World War II. Majority of my family was in concentration camps or workers camps or was a part of World War II. Then after World War II, a good chunk migrated around. So whether they went to Israel or to the States or wherever. My family, my immediate family, my grandparents, my parents, myself, my brother, we were the last to migrate. And so when we came to the States, I was 7.5, 8. I very much have always felt like an American. There's no part of me that ever, people were like, oh, you're so Eastern European. I was like, I'm so LA. What do you mean? I'm so, like, My whole life, I was like, I am LA through and through. And then this happens. And mind you, we have friends in Ukraine. Ashton and I went and met with Zelensky 3.5 years right before COVID. Like, I've been there, but I've always considered myself very much an American. This happens, and I can't express or explain what came over me, but all of a sudden I genuinely I was like, oh my God, I feel like a part of my heart just got ripped out. It was the weirdest feeling. And so I don't know how or why, but that is the story. And so we do have lots of friends still there, and I talk to them. And I was talking to a really good, one of my best friends who came here not that long ago and has his whole family still in Odessa. And I was like, how is it over there? Have they evacuated? Like, well, you stay on top of it. A, they refused to evacuate. Male, female, children all stayed. And B, they all go to work every day. So they're in their bomb shelter at night. They wake up in the morning. They take whatever weapon, gun, whatever they have to protect themselves in the city, and they go to their office to continue working. It is a different breed of people. Like, I can't explain it. So yeah, that's the story.
That just, when you were talking, that gave me goosebumps when you were talking about, I've always been LA, I'm American through and through. I belong here, and then this happens, and something happens inside of you, and you feel your heritage. You feel, these are my people. They're the grace of God go I, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you're like, actually, there's more of me there. I'm part of that, and I'm part here.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't take away from, who I am as a person, but it just adds an entire different layer. I mean, I turned to my kids and I was like, you are half Ukrainian, half American. Like, I literally was like, look, you. And my kids were like, yeah, Mom, I get it. And I was like, no, you are Ukrainian and American. I was like, you're half Iowa, half Ukraine. And they're like, okay, I get it. But
you
like,
felt a sense of pride that you almost didn't know was inside of you, a sense of strength that you didn't know.
Pride is a very good word. It is a sense of pride. And it's not taken away from loving where I live now and everything that this country's given me. But it's been irrelevant to me that I've come from Ukraine. Like, it never mattered. So much so that I've always said I'm Russian, right? Like, I've always been like, I'm from Russia for a multitude of reasons. One of them being, when I came to the States and I would tell people I'm from Ukraine, the first question I would get is, where's Ukraine? And then I'd have to explain Ukraine and where it is in the map. And I was like, oh, that's exhausting. But if I was like, I'm from Russia, people are like, oh, we know that country. Like, instantly people were like, I know that red dot. And so I was like, great, I'll just tell people I'm from Russia. Well, hell no, I am from Ukraine. I mean, everything's changed.
So what is it that you think, why do you think this story, why do you think the Ukrainian people have so captivated the world? Is it their strength, their bravery, their conviction? Or is it this feeling like it's a bully and the Russians came in? And then there are people who are saying to me, but there's so many Russians who feel bad about it. We have to have compassion for the Russians too. And so you're sitting there kind of like, where is our heart? Where does our heart go?
Yeah, it's a hard question to answer, right? I mean, I honestly think that what sets this apart from the horrible events that happen in, call it Afghanistan, Syria, Yemen, and any of these other countries where things like this have happened, is that in this case, it's a nuclear power. And I do want to specify that there's a slight added problem to this one particular situation, is that there's a lot of other issues involved that aren't just about Ukraine, but about its neighboring town. But as far as Russia and Ukraine go, the people, it's like if Nevada or California decided to invade Nevada, or California decided to invade New York. My dad was born in Moscow. It is not like, it's the same people. That's the crazy part. Your cousins live in Russia. Your nephew lives in Ukraine. It's the same people. And so I don't fault the people. I really don't fault the people. I don't like the fact that everybody's like, well, now we're no longer going to eat at those Russian restaurants in New York City, and we're not going to buy that Russian vodka. Whatever that is, the rhetoric behind it, that's not correct, right? The people aren't the problem. not to get technical, but call it the propaganda is a problem, the infrastructure is a problem, the political powers that be are the problem. It's not the people. The people didn't vote for Putin.
It's separating the people from the power, separating the people from the
Yes,
government, right?
yes, yes.
So let's get back to $30 million. And I know this changes by the day. You feel confident you're going to meet your goal.
I do. I really do. I know that we're having a really generous donor coming in today to match the accumulative, the rest of it to get to 30. And so I know that we're going to hit 30. I do. I know we're going to hit it. How? I've never
felt. Keep going. You're going to have to keep going. Are you going to have to keep going?
Here's the thing. What took so long for this to happen? Everybody's like, "What are you going to do? What are you going to donate to?" When this all blew up and everything started happening, and I kept saying, I think whatever we do, we have to be able to pivot, because this is not a war of. It's not a civil war. It's not a religious-based war. It's not some war that we have pattern recognition on, where we know, oh, the end goal is such. We don't know what the end goal is in this case. I don't believe that the end goal personally is, oh, we just want Ukraine. Like, I don't think that that's what it is. And so, not to simplify it, I do think that we're going to keep going in some form. I don't know what that next installment's going to be. And I think that we as society will know better in like the next week or two.
You mentioned that you and your husband, Ashton, had met with Zelensky.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago. Are you surprised by the Zelensky that is on the world stage right now, that has captivated the world with his leadership, with his strength, with his bravado, with his, just awesomeness, really?
Yeah. Am I surprised?
Yeah, I mean, can you give us, because obviously I've not met Zelensky. Most people had never even really heard of him. They first heard of him maybe when Trump was dealing with him, right?
Well, that's when we,
were unfamiliar with Zelensky. And even there was some dispute in the country whether the people of Ukraine really felt incredibly positive about him. And this is, now we're saying, this is a man who has met his moment. This is a man who has said, I'm going to stay here. You have no idea who these people are. We're strong. We're Ukrainian. And nobody is going to defeat us. And people are like, oh my God, that is a leader.
Yeah. I will tell you this. When we met with him, it was him and his wife. We ended up having a lunch or dinner at the time. And we've kept in touch since, right? When we met with him, all we talked about was why would you run? You know this better than most people. Being a president is, or a governor or a mayor or being anywhere, it is one of the worst jobs. It is a horrible job that you go, what made you do this? Like, what made you decide to run for president? Given his history, nowhere near politics, not anything that he did. And his answer and his wife's answer was, he was like, I don't need money. I don't need fame. I don't need success. I love my country and I don't want it to be corrupt anymore. And I can do that. I don't need to placate to people and I don't need to play dirty. I just want to make the country what it needs to be and how it needs to be. And I want to play by the rules and I want to empower the people and I want to empower the country and I want to bring better imports and exports and all that stuff. He genuinely loves where he's from and the people and who he is. So we ended up having a beautiful conversation about, like, think about if you don't need anything other than, if your only goal is to just the betterment of the people, what you can accomplish. That's all he wanted, is just the betterment of the people. Then this happens. And so am I surprised? I mean, I think that, humans surprise us all the time, and human strength is something that we can't predict. And from my meeting from 3 years ago, I would say I'm not surprised at all, because I know that when he went into this, what his intent was. And it wasn't for power or success or fame or money.
Are you surprised by the Ukrainian people?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me why.
Because I can tell you, I wish that I was like that. I said, if someone comes into LA and is like, we're going to take LA or California, I would be like, I'm taking my kids and I'm getting out. And my husband was like, we are not leaving. We are patriots. Like, he is like, we would stay and fight. And I was like, and that's the difference between you and I, is I would be like, I'm taking my kids, I'm out. I'm going to Canada, I'm out. New Zealand, I'm out. He's like, we're not leaving. COVID happened. Trump happened. I wanted to leave. I was like, I'm out. He's like, we're not leaving. So I do think it's a different breed of humanity and a different breed of, like, it's just yes, I'm not pleasantly surprised, but I'm awestricken by this group of people. Yeah, 100. They're fighting with their own makeshift weapons. I mean, it is beautiful. I mean, it's the most, maybe that's the wrong adjective, but it is inspiring.
So you said you've been saying to your kids now at the table, you're half Ukrainian.
Yeah.
I know you're very close with your parents and stuff like that. What have the conversations been like after you get past you're Ukrainian part?
Oh my, with my kids, not much, because then they're off. Oh, with my parents, I was like, my kids, they go off and watch Bluey.
Yeah.
My parents, it's hard. It's hard because they have friends there. But the harder part is, if you followed news in that part of the world for the past 20 years, you saw this coming. This wasn't a shock to anybody that followed the news or to the type of person Putin really was. I mean, he created a position in power. He was a prime minister. Russia, in the history of the thousands of years that Russia's existed, never had the position of prime minister, and he created it for himself at one point. You saw this happening. Like, could you see it being this catastrophic? Yeah. I don't know, but you saw the demise of the person and the type of leader that he was, and he wasn't for the people, by the people, by any means. The country was still incredibly poor, and him and his best friends were insanely wealthy on the backs of the people that were starving. So, the hardest part is, a lot of people saw this coming. So to my parents, I think they were like, nobody listened. Nobody listened to what was going to happen. And everybody tried to become friends with this dictator, and everybody tried to everybody that lived there was like, F this guy. And so I think that they're a little torn. It's hard. It's hard for them.
Right. So finally, Mila, tell me, people who are here in the United States, you've had something like, I read, 55,000 people donate to your call. And we're just really seeing the tip of the iceberg, right? 2 million refugees. The UN says that could get to about 5 million. And
it's a million children.
A million children. So, and many are being orphaned. And
that whole issue is a whole other problem that we're trying to solve, is the children of the refugee issue. Yeah,
I was watching that last night, and I myself find that I watch this and I have tears streaming down my face, and I think people want to know, what can I do? What more? I can give $10 to Mila and Ashton's initiative, or people are giving millions, I know, but what do you want people here to know, to do, to be open to?
I think that first and foremost, I do want to say thank you to everybody that's donated from $5 to $10 to more. But more so than that, I don't think that we need to consider the people of Russia an enemy. I do really want to emphasize that. I don't think that that's being said enough in the press. I think that there's now, if you're not with us, you're against us mentality. And I don't want people to conflate the two problems that are happening. I don't think it's the people of Russia. And so I don't want there to be a thing of all Russians are horrible human beings. Like, I don't want that to be the rhetoric. So I do encourage people to look at it from a perspective of, it's the people in power, not the people themselves. And also, I encourage people to not look at another problem tomorrow and find other issues or get distracted. I think that we live in an incredible country. I mean, America specifically, where we're fine. Like, look at, everybody's fine. Everybody's still going to concerts and going to movies, and there's still award shows happening. And I think that that's okay. I think life has to continue. Life has to move on. We all have to do something in order to have purpose. But I do encourage people to follow through with the news, to stay on top of it, if you don't want to donate to our foundation, that's okay. Donate to where you can donate. Donate with your time. Donate through your voice. Donate. Just get the word out that this is going to happen. It's going to continue to happen. It's not stopping anytime soon. And I also don't want people to get discouraged and conflate different issues in the world. And I don't want people to compare. I think that one thing that's happening a little bit that I've noticed is people are like, why is everybody paying attention to this problem, but nobody paid attention to all these other issues that have been happening? And I don't want people to, it's not, you, I don't want people to conflate. Like, I want people just to focus on what is at hand right now. And right now, this issue can get incredibly catastrophic for the rest of the world, not just for that part of the world. And I don't want people to lose sight of that this problem doesn't just stay in the Eastern Bloc, that this problem will affect the rest of the world economically and otherwise.
Beautifully said, beautifully wrapped up. Separating the people from those that are in power, trying not to get distracted by all the news of the day, which happens. It's okay to continue with your life and feel joy, even though we have an and
Yeah.
both going on at the same time. And that this story is unfolding in real time. And it will take all of our collective energy, all of our hearts and minds to be creative in how we think about it, manage it, deal with it, and there, but for the grace of God, go all of us, right? And
Yeah.
and that has also been an incredibly inspiring thing to me to look at the people from Poland standing at train stations going, I
Yeah.
have a room. I have a room. So you can also support Airbnbs in those other neighboring countries.
That's
Uh,
which is what Airbnb.org does. I mean,
right.
you can, all those people that house people can reach out to Airbnb. Airbnb will subsidize the cost of those people's, housing.
Right. And I think that they said they were going to do 100,000 people, but they're looking for people in these neighboring countries to become Airbnb hosts who might not have been that before. And then people from here can go and support those hosts
Yeah.
uh, as they try to make money themselves to bring in refugees
Yeah.
for the short term and the long term. So this will continue, and I hope we can continue talking and staying on this story. I really believe it's important to stay on stories
Yeah.
because they unfold in real time. And congratulations, I know you'll hit your goal, and then there will be a new goal. And that's the way life goes.
Yeah.
Thank
Yep.
you so much, Mila. I really appreciate you talking to us.
Thanks, Maria.
Okay, thank you.